Is your child your karma? The shocking truth you never knew. Find out now. The air was thick with anticipation the moment the news broke. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for a revelation that could shatter the very fabric of reality. Whispers swept through the streets, echoed in homes, and buzzed like angry bees around water coolers. Children are reflections of their parents' pasts, their karma laid bare for all to see. What kind of twisted miracle was this? Grumbling chaos erupted, lives were turned upside down, and everyone was asking the same question: how could they ever really know their kids? It wasn't just the rumors that sent shivers down spines, it was the bizarre incidents that began to unfold. In the town of Maplewood, the Johnson family found their son, Timmy, suddenly speaking fluent Mandarin, despite no one in their home speaking a word of it. The parents looked on in disbelief, their eyes wide, hearts pounding. What had they done to deserve such a mystery? Just last week, they'd taken him on a family trip to the local fair, and now here he stood, reciting Chinese poetry with a clarity that felt like destiny played a cruel joke. The strange stories didn't stop there. In the same town, the Garcia's daughter, Sophia, had always been afraid of the dark. But after her father got into an accident, his shadow cast long and dark over the family. A raging storm changed her forever. Sophia now embraced the night, running into it with a wild laugh, as if the darkness had whispered secrets only she could hear. People murmured, wondering if her father's misfortune opened a gateway, tying his pain to her newfound vigor. As more children began to showcase uncanny talents or develop extreme fears, the elders began to gather under the old oak tree, fear written on their faces. They exchanged stories filled with skepticism and dread, wondering if this was merely the beginning. They speculated about curses, about generational sins, and about karma's heavy hand, weighing down upon the innocent. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as the air settled, a shadow crossed over the group, a chill running down the spine of every adult present. A woman, dressed in tattered clothes, her eyes hauntingly empty, staggered into the clearing. You want to know the truth about your children? She croaked, voice raw like jagged glass. Gasps echoed through the gathering, hearts raced, and everyone exchanged uneasy glances. The promise of revelation hovered, hanging like the storm clouds above. What do you know? A voice quivered from the crowd, breaking the spell of silence that had gripped the rest. The woman simply smirked, a flicker of something dark and mischievous dancing in her eyes, as if she held the keys to a locked door, one that could lead both to salvation and despair. The question hung in the air, heavy with anticipation, a mystery begging to be uncovered. What lay behind the veil of this uncanny truth, and was it possible that everyone's lives were destined to intertwine in ways they never thought imaginable? The crowd remained hushed, each heart thumping louder than the next as the woman's presence consumed the clearing. The moonlight flickered uneasily, casting jagged shadows around her, and for a moment, time felt suspended. Her eyes narrowed, revealing a depth of knowledge laced with an ominous glimmer. Your children are not just your future, she croaked, her voice scraping like gravel against stone. They are your past, unfulfilled wishes, broken promises, and dark secrets come to life. With every word, she wove a tapestry of connections that left the villagers breathless. The elders shifted restlessly, as parents wrestled with the weight of their own histories peeling back like moth-eaten wallpaper around them. The air grew electric. People exchanged worried glances, fear mingling with disbelief. What nonsense is this? A man shouted, stepping forward, fists clenched. Our children are innocent. They are their own, not mirrors of our wrongs. A sharp, twisted smile flickered upon the woman's thin lips. Is that so? Ask yourselves, how well do you know the roots of your own misery? Her gaze danced among the crowd, sinking deep into hearts burdened with untold stories. The collective tension was palpable. It was as if each participant was being stripped bare, layers of denial pulled off one by one. Then she whispered, Timmy wasn't just speaking Mandarin, he was unlocking the past lives of his ancestors. Sophia didn't just embrace the dark, she became the night's warrior, embodying her father's shadows. Her words hung ominously in the air, electrifying the onlookers with new terror. Murals of panic surged through the throng. The children were not simply affected by their parents, they were living embodiments of every mistake, every wound, every unachieved dream that had ever echoed through their family lines. Could it be true? Was Timmy's newfound talent a dark echo of something buried deep in the Johnson family tree? Did Sophia's laughter conceal an inherited rage? Among the turmoil, one mother, Rachel, stood her ground, heart pounding in her chest. No! We can change the narrative! She cried out, but a creeping doubt simmered just beneath her fervor. What if her past sins were clawing their way into her daughter's dreams? Did she actually hold any power over this haunting legacy? The woman pointed a bony finger towards Rachel. It's not about control, dear. It's about acknowledgement. The truth can be painful. Your children will rise or suffer based on your choices. With that, she took a step back, allowing the notion of inherited karma to absorb the crowd's collective psyche, rippling through them like a dark wave. The whispers intensified, blending into a cacophony of panic and insurrection. Before Rachel could utter another word, the earth trembled beneath them, shaking the roots of their frail beliefs. The air crackled like static, and the shadows lengthened, growing bolder, as if alive, enveloping the adults in darkness. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted from the gathering, a childless shriek that sliced through the chaos, unraveling the frenzy. The townsfolk turned, their eyes wide with horror, seeking the source of the cry. There stood Timmy, clutching a piece of paper in his tiny hands, his face pale, eyes brimming with terror. Mom! Dad! You have to see this. It's a letter from guardian spirits. They say you're cursed. As the crowd gasped, the weight of impending truth settled in. What had they uncovered within themselves? Could the past truly be catching up with them? In the distance, the storm churned menacingly, reflecting the chaos within. And as they stared at the frightened boy, all eyes were suddenly filled with dread. What other secrets lurked beneath the surface waiting to emerge? With these impending revelations closing in, one deep question lingered in the air. Were they ready to confront the darkness that came not just from their children but from within themselves? Timmy stood frozen, the letter trembling in his grip. The crowd edged closer, a sea of faces twisted in confusion, fear, and curiosity. Murmurs rose like a storm, each voice blending into a wild chorus of disbelief. Parents glanced at each other, desperate for answers, but all they found were echoes of their darkest fears reflected in one another's eyes. What do they say, Timmy? Rachel pushed her way through, her heart racing. Show us. Her voice, a mix of urgency and a mother's instinct, cut sharply through the chaos. Timmy's small fingers worked clumsily to unfold the paper as though afraid it might bite. He finally spread it wide, revealing strange symbols and hurried scrawl. It says we're cursed because of all the bad things, the things we didn't fix, he stammered, his lips quivering. It says the spirits are angry. They want us to know. The words struck the villagers like a blow. There were gasps, cries of denial, and even a few shoves as people recoiled from the boy, as if the shadows themselves were closing in. Rachel felt an icy grip on her throat, tight with dread. Could it be true? Were they cursed? Were their children's struggles merely reflections of their own misdeeds? A man at the back shouted, "This is nonsense. We don't believe in curses." But even as he shouted, his voice trembled slightly, revealing a fissure in his defiance. Deep down, were they all waiting for someone to believe them? The woman still looming at the edge of the gathering, a dark silhouette against the vibrant chaos, sneered, the flicker of her smile unnerving. You can ignore the truth, but it will come for you anyway, she said, her voice barely more than an echo. What you deny in the light will thrive in darkness. In an instant, a flash of lightning illuminated the clearing, and the air thickened, charged with a primal energy that made everyone's skin prickle. Suddenly, another scream sliced the night. This time it came from Sophia. She stood trembling, her arms wrapped around her knees, the shadows dancing around her. I can see them. She wailed, tears streaming down her cheeks. The spirits. They're angry. The crowd turned as one, horror etched across their faces. Rachel's heart sank. She rushed towards Sophia, pulling her into a tight embrace. It's okay, baby. It's okay, she whispered, though her own heart was a drum of fear. What sort of spirits were they dealing with? What could they possibly want? Sophia clung to her mother, shaking. They're showing me things that happened before I was born. Things I shouldn't know. A heavy silence fell upon the crowd, punctuated only by the crackle of thunder. What things? Rachel pressed, unwilling to let go, while the villagers exchanged nervous glances, backs straightening in anxiety. They're showing me that night by the river. The cries in the dark. Sophia's voice trembled, each word laced with innocent horror. Mom, they said it didn't end well. Something was lost, something important. The village buzzed with whispers. What did Sophia mean? Which dark memory haunted them? Rachel felt her stomach lurch, and she pulled her daughter closer still. The past was clawing back into their lives, dragging darkness along with it. With wind howling, the storm finally broke loose, a torrential downpour drenching the clearing. The villagers scrambled, but Rachel stood rooted to the spot. The day's revelations spun around her mind like a whirlwind. There were powers at play here, forces that tied their children to their memories, to each sin and regret. Was there truly a curse? Or was it something deeper, an echo of their own failures manifesting in the lives of their children? Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating a figure that stepped forward from the shadows. The woman, a dark harbinger of truth. The time for reckoning has come, she proclaimed, her voice rising above the storm. You cannot run from what is already within. And in that moment of chaos, one question rang louder than any thunder: would the villagers finally confront the truth, or would they bury their heads further in the sand, letting the storm consume them whole? The rain poured down in sheets, cascading as if the heavens themselves were weeping for the villagers. Rachel watched the chaos unfold around her while gripping Sophia tightly. The chilling wind whipped through the streets, lashing against the frightened faces of their neighbors. Fear hung thick in the air, and every drop of rain echoed the growing tension. Mom, make it stop! Sophia cried, her voice cracking under the weight of her fear. Rachel squeezed her daughter tighter. I need you to be strong, sweetheart. We'll figure this out together. But deep down, she knew their connection to those lost memories was far more potent than she had imagined. The woman's silhouette shifted in the downpour, the shadows flickering. It was as if she thrived in the chaos. There are those among you who know the truth, yet choose to forget. But the spirits have memory, and they will not be silenced. Her voice rolled like thunder, carrying an unsettling promise. What do you want from us? A voice from the crowd chimed in, steadying itself despite trembling lips. What do the spirits want? The woman's gaze pierced through the rain with an intensity that made the villagers rear back. They want you to face your past. The consequences of your inaction brought this upon you. Each word was a dagger, carving deeper into Rachel's heart. She exchanged a glance with Timmy, whose wide eyes reflected panic and confusion. She had to protect him from the revelations, everything happening here. There was no way to shield them from the storm, nor the shadows of forgotten sins now awakening. Mom, I can hear them, Sophia whimpered. Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. What are they saying, honey? They say they want to be remembered. They want justice, Sophia gasped, her little body trembling. And we have to listen or what? Someone yelled from the crowd, eyes wide with terror. The wind howled, drowning out an answer, while darkness closed in. The atmosphere crackled with tension, the primal urge to flee battling against the weight of unresolved guilt. Murmurs of the past, whispers of wrongs not righted rose like the storm itself, relentless and unforgiving. Moments passed that felt like eternity, punctuated by Sophia's gasps and the rain striking the earth. Rachel's heartbeat quickened. It was as if the storm masked the weight of histories that bound each villager together. Did they each harbor secrets? Dark truths entwined in their families for generations. In that moment, the crowd shifted, jostling together as if preparing for something monumental. The woman's crooked smile glinted under flashes of lightning, revealing her delight at the simmering unrest. It begins with one, she declared, voice dripping with anticipation. One act of courage, one step towards the truth. Who among you will break the silence? Silence enveloped them, each pair of eyes flicking around, searching for support. They were too terrified to take the first step. Sophia gasped again. They say it started with a betrayal by the river. Rachel felt a knot in her stomach tighten. A betrayal? Before her daughter could answer, the storm raged on, but the whispers were growing louder, echoing pleas for truth from the past, as the energy around them shifted. Rachel glanced up and saw a figure moving at the edge of the clearing, another child, one who resembled Sophia. A ghostly child, with eyes full of sorrow and guilt. In horror, Rachel took a step forward, drawn to the apparition but anchored by fear. What did this mean? Would they now face the truths of their pasts, or flee into the night and let those spirits linger forever? All she knew was a reckoning was coming, and the startling thought hit her: if they didn't act now, it might cost them everything, including the lives of their children. And as the rain poured heavier, one thing weighed upon Rachel's mind. Who among them would rise against the shadows? Rachel's heart raced as she took another step, the chill of the rain soaking her to the bone. The ghostly child stood in stark contrast to the darkness enveloping them, her features illuminated by sporadic flashes of lightning. An unearthly wail rose, drowning out the relentless rain, piercing through the web of fear wrapping around the villagers. Who are you? Rachel's voice trembled, barely rising above the storm. Her mind was flooded with questions she couldn't articulate. The spectral child pointed towards the river, her eyes pools of sorrow. You've forgotten, she whispered, but her voice held a weight that made Rachel's breath hitch. Sophia stirred in her mother's embrace, her small body trembling like a leaf caught in the wind. Mom, she murmured, her voice barely audible. It's true, I hear them. The whispers they want us to remember. The crowd pressed closer, jaws clenched, eyes flickering between the child and the woman shrouded in shadows. An older man, a local whose face Rachel recognized but whose name escaped her, finally broke the silence. What do we remember? What is there to face? The woman's grin widened, her expression twisted with malicious glee. A betrayal, she echoed, her voice curling like smoke. A deep-rooted wrongdoing that binds you all. One among you has hid it, but the truth always seeps through. Cries of confusion erupted from the villagers. Questions bounced around, each tinged with escalating fear. Rachel could feel the weight of their unchecked guilt thrumming in the air. Well, what are we supposed to do? Someone shouted, desperation lacing their tone. Just stand here while the storm washes us away? Cowards! Snapped another voice, loud and piercing. Face the past. It's time to get it out, the spirits won't rest until you do. Rachel felt her pulse quicken. There was something at play here, some truth hidden beneath layers of fear that clung to the village like the rain. She cast a frantic glance at Sophia, who now seemed almost entranced, her eyes locked on the ghostly child. Mom, she wants you to remember the river. It's about that day. That day we never talk about. Sophia's voice was almost a plea. Well, I can't, I want tea. Rachel exclaimed, clenching her fists as tendrils of dread coiled in her stomach. The past felt like a shadow creeping closer, gnawing at her mind. What had happened at the river? Why did it feel so familiar? The ghostly child's small hand reached forward, a gesture both inviting and terrifying, beckoning Rachel toward the memories she had buried. You can't hide from the truth, the child urged, her voice echoing as if carried by 1,000 whispers. A wave of nausea washed over Rachel. Would acknowledging the past shatter everything she held dear? The crowd's murmurs grew louder, their eyes a chorus of expectations. Someone must be brave, urged the woman, her voice smooth yet filled with venom. Face your demons, or they'll own you forever. Rachel felt the weight of those words settle into her bones, leaving her shaking. Was courage in facing the inevitable or running from it altogether? The storm raged, but her heart fought desperately against its own tempest. I will go, she found herself saying, almost against her will. I'll face it, whatever it is. Her voice broke, but she needed to finish. For all of us. With her words hanging in the air, a suffocating silence fell. The storm seemed to hold its breath. But before Rachel could gather herself, the ghostly child took a step back, her face switching from sorrow to a knowing grin. Then all will come to light, she whispered, and just like that, thunder cracked, and the storm surged again, plunging them into chaos. Rachel's heart raced as she noticed Sophia's expression change. Her little face was a mask of determination. But something else stirred in the shadows, flitting around the edges of her vision. "Mom, look!" Sophia's voice rang out, as eyes widened in terror. A silhouette emerged at the river's edge, something utterly familiar yet horrifying in its approach. And Rachel understood, deep down, that they were not merely facing the past anymore, they were stepping into a revelation that could change everything. What came next would not only challenge the decisions they had made, but the very lives intertwined by those tragic threads. Would the truth set them free, or would it pull them into darkness? As the storm howled louder and realization dawned, Rachel braced herself. She was on the precipice of something profound. Would they emerge whole, or would they perish under the weight of buried sorrows? The rain hammered down mercilessly, masking the chaos swirling in Rachel's mind. Her eyes locked on the silhouette emerging from the shadows. It hovered, just out of reach. A figure she recognized, yet could scarcely comprehend. The outline grew clearer with each flash of lightning. A man she hadn't seen in years, yet one who haunted her dreams. "Dad!" Rachel's voice trembled, disbelief sparking in her chest. Was it really him? Sophia shouted, her young voice piercing through the storm. "No, Mom. It's not him." Rachel turned toward her daughter, the urgency in Sophia's eyes slicing through the fog of confusion. "What do you mean?" She shook her head, trying to clear it. "But look at him. He's different." Sophia insisted, a firm grip on Rachel's arm anchoring her. "The others are wrong. He's not here to help." Cold realization rushed in as the figure stepped closer. His face was contorted, once warm and familiar, now twisted with pain. The whispers from the river grew louder, drowning out the roar of the storm. They urged her to think back, to remember the truth of that dreadful day. "You shouldn't have come back," Rachel shouted into the tempest, her heart hammering against her ribs. "What do you want?" The man's lips moved silently, mimicking words that echoed in her memory. Gone was the caring father, in his place stood a grotesque reminder of the betrayal that had wrecked her family. A fissure opened in her memories, revealing jagged pieces she had thought long forgotten. "It's time to pay the price, Rachel," he seemed to say, though his mouth never formed the words. Dread filled her, curdling within her like stagnant water. This couldn't be real. A feeling of icy weight settled on her shoulders, and she staggered under its crushing force. The crowd shifted, murmurs of fear erupting around her like boiling water. They sensed it too, acknowledging the unspoken bond shared by guilt, grief, and the churning storm of the past. "Mom, remember what happened that day?" Sophia cried, her tiny hands trembling with urgency. "You promised me you would always remember." Rachel's heart sank deeper, the urge to flee battling with the aching need to confront her past. That day by the river, the secrets that twisted their lives, it all came flooding back like rushing water. The woman's voice materialized again, smooth as silk but steeped in venom. "Someone betrayed. Someone died. But you're all some part of this, Rachel. You must choose, forgive or let it consume you." Rachel felt the agony swell, not just for herself, but for her daughter, for the villagers who had endured all of this together, lives tangling like roots under the stormy ground. She had hidden from the truth for far too long. The shadows weren't waiting anymore. With every pulse of lightning, she felt herself slipping a dark descent into a memory pool she had kept locked away. But the truths buried within didn't just belong to her, they belonged to everyone. They hung like heavy fog over the river, waiting for resolution, for validation, for acceptance. Rachel, her father's figure, approached, his eyes ablaze, seeking connection. "You cannot run. We are only as strong as our bonds. Only the truth can set us free." The storm quelled for a moment, the air crackling with tension. Rachel's breath quickened. As the weight of the past tightened around her like a noose, she realized this was no mere specter. This was an embodiment of her worst fears, demanding acknowledgement. "Face it, Mom. We need to break this curse," Sophia implored, her innocence cutting through the storm's relentless grip. But as the river surged, wrapping around her like a serpent, the darkness swirled deeper. Rachel stood at the edge, teetering between the echoes of her past and the fierce hope of her daughter's future. Would she break the cycle or let it pull them beneath like a riptide? The truth loomed ahead, shimmering through the chaos, beckoning her to dive deeper. As the storm threatened to swallow them, Rachel caught a glimpse of something shimmering in the river, a symbol of the betrayal that bound them together. What lay at the bottom could change everything. Would Rachel summon the courage to face the truth, or would the storm take her under, forever lost to secrets and shadows? The river's current roared, clawing at her ankles as Rachel felt the ground shift. Her pulse raced, drowning out everything but the fierce connection between her and the ghost of her father. The figure advanced, nearly faceless yet strangely familiar, an achingly vivid reminder of every moment she had tried to forget. "Take a step back, Mom. Just listen." Sophia's voice cut through the rushing water, filled with fear. Rachel felt the urge to shield her daughter, to wrap her in protection from the storm both outside and within. The weight of years suppressed bubbled to the surface, and with it, the gnawing question, what had really happened that day? "Stop!" Rachel screamed, her heart clenching. "I don't want to remember." But even as the words left her lips, the floodgates unlatched. Memories surged forward, cascading like the rain around them, the echoes of laughter, the bliss of unguarded moments, a picnic by the river, her father's warm smile, the sound of joy turning into horror when the earth trembled and a figure was lost to the depths. Voices, soft at first, reminded her of the whispers, the ones she had tried to silence. "You must accept, Rachel," the spectral figure whispered again, the darkness of his presence pulling at her. "You can't hide from the truth. It's all connected, just like the river and the rain." The crowd around her began to murmur, the energy buzzing like electricity. Fear rippled through them, their gazes flickering to the man she once called Dad. Faces twisted in recognition and revulsion, their breath quickening as if they too stood on the precipice of confronting their pasts. People died. One man shouted, anger slicing through the tension. "We lived through the aftermath. You think running will erase that?" Rachel clenched her fists, battling the torrent of emotions surging within her. The pulsating storm was unyielding, just like the weight bearing down on her consciousness. Where forgiveness lay, so too did regret, a tangled web she had woven tightly around her heart. "Break it!" Sophia cried, desperation threading her words. "This isn't just your burden to bear anymore. It's ours." Rachel looked down at her daughter, so small, yet carrying the weight of generations on her shoulders. The truth she sought didn't just belong to her, it was intertwined with Sophia's future, with the community, with every life hanging by a thread. And then Rachel remembered the symbol she'd seen in the river's depths, a reflection of the betrayal she had tried to drown in denial. It illuminated before her, casting pulsating shades in the dark water, a fragment of the past glimmering with urgency. "Rachel," her father's form hissed, the air thick with anguish and longing. "You know what must be done. You have to pull it out. Only then can we all be free." A surge of determination flooded through Rachel as she knelt at the river's edge, reaching down. The water chilled her fingers, pulling her closer, begging her to give in to the current, to whatever lay beneath. She was nearly submerged. The storm clashed above, raging against her resolve, but deep inside, an ember sparked an understanding that maybe, just maybe, confronting the truth could be the key to breaking the cycle. Clutching tightly to a shimmering object, Rachel braced herself for the unknown. Would it be the answer, a curse, or something even darker? Just then, a shriek pierced the chaos. Sophia yanked at Rachel's arm, panic igniting in her eyes. "Mom! Look!" As Rachel turned, momentum swept through her, dragging the truth from the depths beneath her. The shadows loomed closer with every fleeting heartbeat, and she gasped, frozen by the revelation of what she was about to unleash. Was she ready to confront the truth that lay ahead, or would the weight of the past shatter her resolve entirely? The storm raged on, its fury matching the tumult inside her as she stood at the brink of discovery, one that could either liberate them or drown them all. The shimmering object slipped from her grasp, its metallic surface glinting under the chaotic stormlights. It spiraled into the water, vanishing into the depths as if swallowed by the river's ferocity. A gasp cracked from Rachel's lips, her heart thumping against her ribcage like a frantic bird trying to escape. The connection to the past had felt so solid, so profound, but now it splintered like glass that had met its breaking point. "Mom! We have to get it back!" Sophia screamed, her voice layered with urgency and fear. Rachel felt the frantic tug of her daughter's hand, the warmth battling against the chill creeping into her bones and clouding her judgment. But what if retrieving it meant digging deeper into the pain she had buried? Would reaching for the truth expose scars best left hidden? The river surged beneath her like a heart ready to rupture, and an electric hum buzzed around them, weaving through the crowd. Faces contorted both in horror and anticipation, a collective gasp echoing when Rachel recounted the decision laid before her. Was she ready to dive deeper? "Don't you understand?" Rachel's voice trembled, the storm raging both inside and outside her. "No one wants to remember what really happened. It's safer this way." "Safer for who?" A woman from the crowd yelled back, her gaze steely yet touched with sympathy. "For you? Or for all of us?" A shuddering breath escaped Rachel's chest as she looked around. The faces of her neighbors mirrored fear and anger, yet some held a flicker of hope, a need to break free from the chain that had kept them shackled. She was no longer alone. This was their burden too, a collective ache that plagued their community. The storm crackled with energy, whipping the rain sideways, yet Rachel felt a strange peace settle upon her. What was waiting for her in the depths might be a curse, but perhaps it was also a chance at redemption. With the weight of the shimmering object still on her mind, she took a step closer to the edge. "Let me," Rachel whispered, resolving to peer beyond the veil of doubt. "Let me confront it." The water swirled like a black void filled with secrets, inviting yet menacing, as she crouched lower, her pulse quickening with every passing moment. The roar of the river hushed, and one by one, the murmurs of the crowd died down, anticipation hanging thick around them. "Tear it apart, Mom," Sophia urged, her small voice sharp with conviction breaking through the silence like a beacon. With trembling hands, Rachel plunged into the river's depths, each second stretching into an eternity. Cold water enveloped her, swallowing her whole. The sensation was disorienting, the murkiness obscuring everything but her determination. She pushed deeper, searching, grasping for the shimmering truth that had slipped away, but what she encountered beneath the surface startled her, a hidden weight that felt warm, almost sentient. The object she had let go echoed with a familiar pulse, thrumming against her palm like a heartbeat. And just like that, it came rushing back, images, voices, the weight of grief intertwined with something else, something bright, something full of promise. Suddenly, the clarity emerged, illuminating the chaos of her mind. Rachel clutched the shimmering artifact tightly as visions flashed around her, the moment of betrayal, the live flicker of laughter, and the piercing scream that had shattered everything. The memories tumbled over one another, dragging her with the force of a thunderstorm. And then, darkness consumed her. As her vision clouded and air dwindled, a voice wailed from nowhere and everywhere, echoing in the roar of the storm. "No! You have to listen." With sheer will, Rachel kicked upward, clawing at the surface, desperate for breath and clarity. She burst forth, gasping for air, the water cascading down her face, yet the glimmer still clutched tightly in her grip. The crowd loomed above her, their expressions a mix of horror and awe. "Did you find it?" Sophia's voice broke through, frantic yet filled with hope. The truth was in her hand, but would it truly free them? Or would it plunge them into darkness even deeper than the river's grasp? In that moment, Rachel faced the choice that could change everything, teetering on the edge of revelation and ruin. With her heart pounding, she clung to the shimmering truth, but fear gnawed at her like the relentless current. Could she live with the weight of what she had uncovered? The storm's fury intensified, and just like that, she had to decide, to share what she had found or keep it hidden once more. The moment had arrived. Would she take a leap into the unknown, or would the darkness pull her back under? Rachel's heart raced, thrumming against her ribs as she struggled to comprehend the swirling chaos of voices and emotions. The river's icy grasp felt like a shackle, each breath she drew was heavier than the last. She could still feel the artifact weighing in her hand, its brilliance dimmed only by her fear. "Mom! Please, just tell me." Sophia's voice cut through the disarray, a sharp plea that drew Rachel's focus back to her daughter's wide eyes, brimming with both hope and dread. "Mom," the word hung there, an aching question, one that echoed the turmoil in Rachel's soul. Did Sophia really want to know the truth, whatever that might be? Or was it easier to remain wrapped in the comfort of ignorance? On the bank, the townsfolk whispered, their glances flitting between Rachel and the roiling waters, fear infusing their murmurs like poison. Each fearful face felt like a mirror reflecting Rachel's turmoil. What if the truth threatened to unravel everything? I found something. She gasped, her voice barely more than a whisper. What is it? Sophia asked, her small fingers curling around Rachel's, seeking reassurance. Rachel took a shuddering breath, the weight of the moment crashing down. I found memories. The words tasted bitter on her tongue. Our memories. The ones we buried. What do you mean? Sophia pressed, her eyes narrowing with confusion. It's not just fragments, Rachel continued, her voice growing steadier, propelled by the urgency of the moment. It's a string of events, Sophia. Something awful happened here. We can't ignore it anymore. We can't let it define us. The wind howled, whipping Rachel's soaked hair around her face as the storm raged on, but within her pulsed a new resolve. She would not stand idly by, haunted by shadows. Whatever had happened in the past was not just her burden, it belonged to all of them. The anguish, the betrayal, it demanded to be released, or it would consume them, piece by piece. What are you going to do? Sophia's voice wobbled, almost lost beneath the storm. I'm going to tell them, Rachel declared, the words spilling forth like rain from the heavens. I'll tell everyone. If we're going to heal, we need to surface the truth. The crowd surged closer, ears straining to catch her every word. Some shook their heads, rejection twisting across their faces. Others leaned in, hope flickering like a fragile flame amidst the storm. No! Someone yelled from the back, their voice dripped with fear. You're playing with fire, Rachel. Some things are better left buried. The mention of buried truth struck a nerve, and Rachel felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. She recalled the faces of those who had suffered, who had lost so much to a past obscured by silence. I can't stand by and let it fester. She shot back, her voice rising in pitch. We owe it to everyone, to ourselves to face it. The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers echoing like the distant rumble of thunder. Rachel clutched the artifact tightly, feeling its warmth seep into her palm. Perhaps it was time to confront the ghosts that haunted not only her but the entire community. Beneath the surface lay unanswered questions, painful yet necessary. With her heart racing, she stepped forward, ready to shake the foundations of their existence. What if I told you this isn't just about us? What if it connects to something bigger? The crowd gasped, and Rachel felt a sudden surge of power. She was holding something monumental. What do you mean? Sophia asked, her face a mixture of fear and curiosity. The nerves danced in Rachel's stomach as the unknown loomed. What happened in this town? Could it be the reason why the darkness keeps returning? A cycle of pain that binds us all? The storm roared louder, as if punctuating her statement. The air felt electric, charged with possibilities and the weight of unspoken truths. And as she prepared to share the hidden story, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the river's surface, revealing something else lurking just beneath. Rachel's breath caught. What was that? A dark shape bobbed in the water, and before she could react, it surged upward, breaking the surface with a force that sent a tidal wave crashing into the crowd. Get back! Someone screamed. The ripple of panic spread like wildfire, but Rachel stood frozen, her heart stuttering as the shape became clear. It was not just debris, it was a message from the depths. And it was about to change everything. One truth lay in her hand, but what more awaited them in the depths? As the dark shape heaved above the water, a collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Rachel stood rooted to the spot, her heart pounding, a chaotic blend of fear and bravery tightening her chest. Whatever lay before them was not just a remnant of the past, it was a harbinger of truths and new realities. Mom! Pull it out! Sophia called, voice laced with urgency. Rachel felt the weight of her daughter's fear resting on her shoulders. This moment was not just for her but for every family in Maplewood, every soul tethered to the darkness they had long ignored. The river surged again, and the message from the depths was rising, refusing to stay hidden. With trembling hands, Rachel plunged back into the cold water, diving deeper, her determination fierce. Grasping tightly around the shivering object, a worn, waterlogged book, she could almost sense the secrets it held. Open it! Sophia shouted as Rachel emerged from the water, clutching the book to her chest like a lifeline. Rachel's breath came in ragged bursts, her mind racing with the implications of what lay within. The crowd watched anxiously, every face taut with anticipation. Stepping back from the river's edge, she wiped the water from her eyes. The shadows shifting around them faded momentarily as she opened the book, its damp pages curling slightly with age. Inside were names of those lost to the river, tragedies that had been passed down like a legacy of pain. It chronicled lies and betrayals, secrets buried under layers of silence, patterns of grief that stretched back generations. With each name Rachel read aloud, the atmosphere thickened, heavy with shame and recognition. Gasps filled the air, muddled with murmurs of disbelief. Memories flickered through the crowd like the lightning that illuminated the stormy sky. Old wounds reopened, emotions raw and unsettled as they confronted their past. Why did we never talk about this? An older voice called from the edges, trembling. These stories needed to be shared. Yes. Rachel responded, emboldened by every murmured agreement. The past has haunted us, but now it's time to confront it together. If we don't embrace our history, it will keep taunting us through our children. Sophia clenched Rachel's arm. Mom, they'll be free if we set them free. Thunder rumbled in the distance, almost in agreement as the air crackled with transformation, a new spirit rising among them. The villagers, once timid and bound by guilt, began to step forward, faces hardening with resolve. One by one, they shared their experiences, revelations spilling like rain. A girl who had hidden her deep-rooted shame, a father who had turned from his family, and an elder who spoke of losing touch with his children. The collective pain forged a bond, shimmering just like the artifact Rachel had retrieved from the depths. I thought I was alone, an elderly woman spoke, wiping tears from her cheeks. But I see now, the darkness binds us. Let us not let it defeat us any longer. With that, the townspeople began to break down walls, pain transforming into catharsis. They were releasing not only their fears but also promising to change, to be accounts of hope instead of echoes of despair. The storm began to subside, drops dwindling as the clouds parted ever so slightly, letting rays of moonlight illuminate the clearing. In that breathtaking moment of connection, a profound energy radiated through the crowd. A sense of unity emerged, a promise to face the darkness head-on and rewrite their stories through courage and compassion. Together! Rachel shouted, her voice ringing like a clarion call. We can transform this legacy of pain into a narrative of strength. They stood together, hand in hand, children and parents, generations entwined as the moonlight glimmered down upon them. And finally, in that collective consciousness, a new chapter began. As they lifted their eyes to the sky, Rachel felt a warmth envelop her, the weight of the past settling, at last, into peace. While the storm had challenged their souls, it had also cleared the way for healing, forgiveness, and hope, both for them and the children they raised. With a final embrace, the people of Maplewood resolved to celebrate the truths they shared. And as Rachel pulled Sophia close, she whispered, "We're free." They had faced their past together. The shadows retreated, and the village began to rebuild not just their homes, but their spirits. This unfolding was a lesson of karma turned into hope, a reminder that what binds us is not the darkness we've endured, but the love we weave together in the light. Now that you've followed this amazing journey to its conclusion, it's time to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on the next incredible stories coming your way. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Your engagement is what keeps this channel thriving. Your true fan support matters.